Okay. Anyway. Hi. Okay. Anyway. Hi. Okay. Anyway. Hi.
Hi.
I don't want to talk about politics again, but it's kind of hard not to, I guess. But here, I got to turn my.
You too loud again?
No. Well, probably. I have to turn my. God damn it. My headphones thing. So I hear it better. Then I maybe won't talk as loud if I think it's loud.
You know, that might be part of the problem, right?
Well, I've been trying to keep an eye on that. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes I just lean into the mic and it's time to lean.
Oh, I can tell this is going to be a doozy. You're listening to episode 36 of Time to Lean, and here's a song with your hosts, John and Phil. Tonight's episode, the boys have a beverage and then they talk a little bit, and then there's an original song, meaning that they wrote it themselves, not that it was that original.
Oh.
Okay, what shouldn't we talk about tonight? Politics?
Okay, no politics.
COVID-19?
I mean,
everybody's talking about that.
When this comes out, who knows what's going to be going on, though?
Right. I know, and after the last song, people think we're part of it, part of the problem.
It was very timely. Actually, our episode 35 came out today, so that's exciting. We're recording hours after our last one was released. It's like
wow.
We planned it that way.
Wow. And now this one will be, hopefully will be released. I don't know.
Someday. Yeah, I on the way home from work, I stopped at Costco, and it was like, you know, when like Florida has hurricane time and you see the news footage of everybody at the warehouse clubs trying to stock up on bottled water and toilet paper and all that stuff. It was kind of like that. People were just buying so much shit.
Now, I'm not seeing that as bad in other stores, although I haven't shopped for a few days. But do you think hoarders are more likely to go to a place, not hoarders, doomsday preppers are more likely to go to a place like probably Sam's Club?
Yeah, no, they obviously go to Costco too. People get a little bit crazy. And and I stopped at a different grocery store after that to pick something else up, and they had signs up saying that they have no hand sanitizer and all that stuff.
Sure.
Because everybody's buying that.
I think Target was saying, or our Target was saying, they're limiting the amount of hand sanitizer a person can buy at each trip. I don't know.
Yeah, that's wise. Yeah.
Well, we're just going to make our own. I haven't looked at the recipes. Is it like...
I know you need...
Everclear?
You need alcohol. I'm going to use my single malt scotch collection to make hand sanitizer.
Hey, John, you and I are probably sanitized from the inside out after all this.
That's right. Drink enough whiskey.
Speaking of whiskey, Sean and one of our two-timers, that's what I'm calling our return guests now. One of our two-timers, our only two-timers so far. And maybe I have to rethink the name, but...
Double-timer? No.
They're repeaters, repeat offenders.
Yeah, no. They're all offensive.
But you and Sean and I are planning on going on to a Irish whiskey tasting at Liquor Boy in a few days. Is that still scheduled?
You know, that's a good question. I was about to make a joke about, if it's still happening.
And if we want to just go and hang out and watch something, that's fine too.
Yeah, we always have a backup. Let's look at their event page.
Time to grill and chill. We need that. And I'm fine with just that. Just hanging out. I think that's important.
It's still on the website. It doesn't say canceled. Even though that's a lot of people in a crowded store all crowding together to get free booze. Because there are over 50 Irish whiskeys, creams, and beers to taste.
Even if, whether or not we decide to go, we should still hang out. That's a good thing.
We'll report back on our next episode. I know everybody is really curious.
people may have a lot of more time on their hands if they can't go anywhere. So maybe all of a sudden our listeners will spike.
They haven't canceled classes at my place of work yet, but they have at yours.
Well, they haven't canceled classes, but they've
They can't be in person.
I think what is it? What are they saying? All the classes will be online. They're online, but they're calling it something different. Remote learning or something. I don't know. I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but I heard that
We can cut this part out.
well, maybe it doesn't matter because Saudi Arabia doesn't allow their people to do online learning. And I think other countries do too. And I don't know if it's some religious thing. I don't know why. I don't think the Quran ever said anything against online learning. But they, and maybe they should rethink it. Either way, it's distance learning or something like that. They can call it. But they...
Really? Had never heard of this.
Well, I won't say who told me. Yeah, well, we definitely should cancel.
Cut that out.
Or not cancel that. Oh, we're canceled. Yay. No.
Hey, cancel. We're gonna self-cancel. It's kind of like self-deporting. Oh, this is even worse. I didn't think it could get worse, but it did.
Or quickly retiring all of a sudden. Is that something?
Yes. Is that a segue?
Wow. You have been a long time. It's part of your is it almost nightly routine is to watch Hardball.
That's a little bit
No.
extreme, but it is something I have watched over the years.
Let's say that.
Sure.
Yeah, you don't watch it every night. But when we've referenced Hardball several times in the show and Chris Matthews, well, and of course that was in the news. It isn't just Corona and COVID-19 and the stock market and all this other stuff and politics, the Bernie Bros. Yeah, well, okay. And also there was a connection because your dad really liked Chris. He'd been around a long time.
So it's interesting. The regular nightly hosts of MSNBC have two nostalgic connections for me. As you mentioned, my late father liked Chris Matthews. I don't know how much he was. I wouldn't call him a super fan, but
He did the cosplay.
yeah, he went yeah, Chris is easy to make fun of, no doubt. But I'll get back to that in a second.
Sure.
But he did watch him, and part of it was when he was on and things like that. But I know he did like him, and Chris Matthews was kind of an old school Democrat most of the time.
Speechwriter for Carter.
Yeah, yep, that's right. And the other nostalgic attachment is Rachel Maddow, who is definitely not retired, but my late grandmother really liked her.
Oh, yeah.
Before Rachel became the powerhouse that she is today.
Right. The ratings juggernaut of MSNBC.
She really is, and yeah, so good
And well
good for her.
deserved. Well deserved.
But I think at the time when Rachel first got her own show, somebody like her on cable news was unusual. And I think my grandmother, who was very into politics and astute about these things,
Very astute.
appreciated that, and that Rachel was somebody who kind of spoke her language with progressive politics. So
Yeah, brought a different
so
perspective.
that's great. So I have a little bit, even when Rachel gets a little bit bonkers on stuff because she gets a little too far into things, but I still have a
Do you mean
soft
into
spot for her.
Do you mean into the weeds kind of a thing? Or
Oh yeah, definitely. The best,
Yeah.
and I probably used this example before, but somebody who I follow on Twitter made the very funny but true comment that whenever Rachel is explaining, like gesturing that she does with her hands, I'm doing it right now as I talk, kind of this kind of
Is she Italian?
gesture with both hands halfway raised up, explaining a concept. The comment was, I sometimes feel Rachel, it looks like she is trying to explain something to her cat. which I thought was a hilarious comment because you could just see it. If you ever watch Rachel Maddow, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
A cat would like scratch you.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm off topic.
Did she start on what was the radio Air America? Did she get her start on that?
I don't remember. Yeah, I don't. Air America was the progressive radio network that was trying to carve out a niche of progressive talk radio.
Well, to kind of counteract like the 3 million, conservative talk radio shows.
Exactly, and that's where before Al Franken got into the Senate, he was one of the people that launched the network. And Al Franken, the best thing about Al Franken's show back when it was on, and of course we're both still, I think, fans of Al Franken.
It's complicated.
But yes, it is complicated. Well, I'll get to that. Is kind of it's not that far off topic with Chris Matthews actually, but
no.
So, but Al Franken's show that he started, he at first referred to it as the O. Franken Factor.
That's right. That's right.
Because based on the old Bill O'Reilly show, the O'Reilly Factor.
O'Reilly.
Yeah, or he called it O'Reilly, which is actually from one of Al Franken's books.
I know.
Which are very entertaining reads. But
I have an autographed copy that I don't know what to do with.
So funny. And he would call it the O. Franken Factor.
I don't get it.
And it was typical Al Franken stuff, but that's the thing that sticks out in my mind about it. But back to Chris, as everybody probably knows, Chris Matthews retired abruptly from his Hardball show. No. What was it? A week ago, wasn't it? A week ago Monday. Yeah.
So much happens so fast. I don't know what's going on.
It's really crazy. Everybody's forgotten about it by now with the stuff that's going on. Before this, he had some incidents come up. One of them was that a woman accused him of some harassing comments.
A guest.
Yeah, it was a guest on his show that he made. He was kind of hitting on her and making comments.
And it was odd. It was like, why haven't I fallen in love with you yet?
Oh yeah, it was kind of, and I can totally see him saying it like that.
That's skeevy.
It is, and kind of it's not cool. And you can go read up if you don't know about it. Go read up on it and all that stuff. And also he tended to not have much of a filter when he was on the air interviewing people. And he would just say shit. Sometimes it was there were gaffes, things like that, like the whole thing about Bernie Sanders coming on like the Nazis invading France.
Yeah.
Not the best metaphor for a campaign.
No.
For campaign progress, things like that. Things like that. He's some of that stuff I think he could kind of slide by on, and he talked over people. A lot of people did not like his style of political discourse, if you will.
But it may be antiquated in today's reference point, but before or a while back, there was that. I think there was a progressive or a liberal or Democrat need to counter some of that. What was going on the right, on the radio and media, to be more assertive or aggressive, or I think there was a desire for that, and I think that hey, he's going to go get him,
Yeah, fighter.
Yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and not that Chris Matthews was a politician, because he was never in office or anything like that, but he was kind of a classic in the old CNN Crossfire mold.
Sure.
Or McLaughlin Group. We've mentioned these before.
Yeah.
Wrong.
Accidentally referencing it. I didn't do that on purpose.
No.
It just became part of my psyche.
You're carrying on the tradition, but it's kind of a brawling steamroller style of political debate.
Yeah.
That, for good reasons, is not always what you want.
No, it's good to be a good listener.
Right, and I think it's complicated.
I didn't see and then one of the final straws, I think, was his interview with Elizabeth Warren, which I have not seen. Full disclosure,
I was watching when it happened. Yeah, it was on one of the primary nights or something like that, or debate nights. Sorry.
I think the issue there not just the way that he was overlapping her or whatever, interrupting her and stuff, or being maybe too aggressive with talking with her. I didn't read anyone saying that. I think that the issue was that it was a Michael Bloomberg.
It was the thing where he supposedly told one of his employees to kill it, as in get an abortion, that kind of stuff.
And he said, I can't believe he said that.
Yeah. It came across as, why would this man lie about this, and why would it was basically erred on not believing the woman,
right?
And that's the way it sounded. It really
and
did.
I'm guessing that wasn't his intention, but it did sound like that. I think
it came. There were two aspects of it for me. One was an old, again, he's an old guy. He's, people get set in their ways, and standards were different. But kind of giving the guys more of a benefit of the doubt than they probably deserve.
Yeah.
But it was also kind of, I think he was thinking ahead of himself as a strategy. Like, why would somebody like this say something like that?
Yeah.
Not that it wasn't even Mike Bloomberg was a saint. Why would he ever say such a thing?
No.
I think he was thinking very strategically, and it just was muddled enough that it was easy to read it the wrong way.
I did, I try not to get into the comments too much, but it did feel like there was, I don't know how to word this.
There was a lot of grave dancing.
Yeah.
When he was forced to leave. And it's pretty certain to me that he was going to be fired, or there was some mutual thing, even though I think he probably chose to leave early rather than fight.
And maybe not that day, but
yeah, it sounded like it was if you watch the coverage,
that was,
it was really something else. They obviously did not see it coming that day.
No.
So, but the thing about it is that, and yes, random people commenting, a lot of people didn't like him, whatever, but obviously a lot of people do, and they're not all Trump people.
Right.
They weren't Trump people talking about that. They weren't watching him. And I just think that there was a lot of people equating him with really offensive, horrible people, Harvey Weinstein, whatever.
Yeah.
That they were.
Epstein.
And that's the part that bugged me, that people just had to go to the most extreme behavior and just lump him in with everybody else.
I think, well, okay, so back to Al Franken. I mean, I think there's...
Yeah, there's some of that. That's why it crosses over, doesn't it?
I think, crossover. I think that's a new show. I think there's a spectrum of offenses, and they're all terrible. And yes, we're white men talking about this, which is probably...
We're offensive in our own way, actually, because we're coming from a...
I guess we need to acknowledge that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, let's make sure we acknowledge our white male privilege, but we still have a right to talk about it. People can disregard that if they want to,
and they can call us out. That's fine.
Yeah. It's higher ratings that way.
I think we're trying to acknowledge. I don't know. I think we want to have an opinion without sounding. I don't know. It's complicated, but there is a spectrum of offenses, and I'm not saying.
Well, and just to wrap up the Chris Matthews specific stuff is that his apology I thought was very good, very
heartfelt.
It wasn't just that, but also was specific that
he acknowledged that
he basically said that my comments were more acceptable than years ago, even though they were always wrong.
I like that line. Like that. I think that was an important line.
Yeah, I thought that was very important, and that's one thing that I gotta give him respect for, and I think a lot of other people do too. But I just wanted to say that I think in overall, we who like that kind of cable news, whatever, and it's an old audience. Let's just be honest, but I think we're all poorer for him not being there. I miss somebody with his perspective, even though he was, most of the rest of the network is not in his age group and does not have his perspective.
It was
that's
still
fine.
his voice and his opinion was still valid, but
Yeah, and his long experience with all. I mean, yeah,
Experience.
like a lot of old people like us, he would get really wrapped up in nostalgic things like talking about Jack Kennedy or blah blah blah,
Sure.
or other his younger days.
I guess I like that the best. I didn't care so much for the other aspects of the show. I guess he can write books or something, but he's
No,
working on a new book.
he does. He's obviously fine, and he was apparently close to retirement anyway, so
Yeah.
that's fine.
But you know
it's-
what? Maybe he should have retired a little bit earlier. Second guess it.
Yeah, I just saying like we don't want to be the people that say that old people we're not going to become
An ageist.
well ageism. I was trying to think of a cultural reference like Logan's Run, for example, where people are forcibly retired at age 30.
Well, maybe coronavirus will take care of that for us.
Yeah, there's a lot of morbid comments about that. But anyway, I just wanted to say I will miss Chris Matthews.
Yeah.
Even though I acknowledge that he did fuck up.
Yeah.
And
It was time to go.
It was probably at this point, having with his recent track record, yes, he probably shouldn't be in a primetime news spot.
And we need new voices, right? And I think Joe Biden has talked about bringing in the younger folks.
I really hope that's true, and I hope they do that because
They need to get the experience or whatever and prove that they can, like Amy Klobuchar, who's not like 7. But, I mean, let's say she's the next vice president or something. That will position her to show that she's capable of X, whatever that is, and be a stronger candidate next time. They have to bring in the Pete Buttigieg and whatever to get them in, get them more experience, more exposure, more, and turn it over to them. The old whoops, the previous generation needs to turn things over. So. Oh, politics.
yeah, sorry. We'll try and wrap this up.
No,
quickly.
I started it.
Obviously,
okay.
Joe Biden is doing well because he is considered a kind of a safe choice.
And it was all rigged.
People are scared of a lot, not only the COVID and everything, but just that we need a grown-up, and Joe Biden is a grown-up mainly due to his experience, and that people assume that he will put professionals back in the government.
And he'll right the ship.
We have to say, kind of get back to a position where we can collect our bearings, and I think that's where a lot of people are coming from.
Yeah.
And there's other factors at work and stuff like that, but I think it would be a big mistake for Biden and his people not to make serious efforts to get the people who are Bernie supporters.
Yeah.
At least try and have them.
Some of them
cliche,
more.
whatever, a seat at the table, whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it. And that's it's challenging because there's a lot of bad blood after the last election.
But after the last election, the DNC brought Bernie in. I don't know to the full what extent, but Bernie helped make the rules this round.
Well, he did, and yet he's never quite. The thing is, Bernie never really. Sorry, Bernie supporters, I get you, but as a political leader, I don't think he ever really embraced the party, and didn't really want to be its leader, which he could have been, once Trump won. And there was that vacuum of people in the party.
Well, but he's positioned himself as somebody that's going to bring down the establishment, which includes the DNC.
That includes that party. But and so I don't. That's why I don't really blame people for being for there being hard feelings about that, and that again, Bernie Sanders isn't a Democrat.
But I'm getting upset. No offense to my friends who might be listening that are Bernie fans, but they they're saying things like rigged and the DNC is it's like, where is this evidence? What are you talking about? Now the latest thing that somebody posted is I think Bernie Sanders may have said this, that the Democrats were suppressing the vote in Michigan or something like that because of longer waiting lines. I'm like, that's irresponsible. If he said that, that's irresponsible.
I think, as usual, I think Sanders has been careful to not say that, but yeah, people are crazy, and there's still the portion of them that are very just my way or the highway, and that we're still going to have a few people, assuming that Biden gets the nomination, that are going to say, "Oh, who cares? They're both the same."
Oh yeah. Well, one's orange.
I think it'll be fewer, though. I really do.
One of them's orange. It's totally different.
Turnout's going to be better. Probably on both sides, unfortunately, because people are so fired up. But, it's going to be really hard.
And let's see what these the hearings bring out in the no, that's not Bo. Yeah, he's no longer with us. But the Hunter. Yeah. They're going to have some hearings. Well, they got to get to the bottom of that one.
Yeah, our good man. Hello, we talked about him like 2 weeks ago. What is his name? Mitt Romney. Sorry.
Yeah.
He's skeptical of having hearings where they hammer Hunter Biden, which good for him.
Yeah.
So we'll see
I think he voted to allow the subpoena, though.
even if that doesn't succeed, you're going to have tons of dirty campaigning about that stuff. And then what it sounds like is that Bloomberg and all of his money, they're going to just run tons of ads attacking the Trump family.
No.
And so it's going to just be nasty.
Yeah.
And that's what, unfortunately, the system we have right now.
Well, especially when a certain candidate has almost all of his family involved in the government.
It's very easy to attack, and there's so much there. Yeah, a lot of it's their legitimate problems. And let's just be a little bit fair, and that the whole nepotism, Hunter Biden being on the board of the Ukrainian gas company and all that, that's not good either.
I think it was investigated and it was legal, but it wasn't necessarily wonderful.
But the fact that it's legal, that's the problem.
Right. Yeah.
It's not. Yeah. He was just playing by the rules, which are crooked.
Right.
So you can't really, in a way, you can't blame him, and it's small potatoes compared to the Trump family, but it's still not great. I don't think we should all love that. And
I can get where, some Democrats are wanting a pure candidate, but nobody is pure. No, everybody has something,
Yeah, Bernie has a vacation home.
He's a millionaire. He's not a billionaire, but
yeah, that's whatever. It's bogus, but
I don't care. Good for him.
There are a lot of 70-year-old millionaires with an M.
Well, yeah.
If you count everything that your net worth is and all that, it's not that much money these days.
Well, then there's that.
Now we're going to be have an economics show.
Oh, Jesus. How about the stock market? No, I need to get another beverage.
I do too.
Well, after that segment.
Okay.
My balls are not hard.
No kidding. I'm 3 drinks in.
Hello.
What?
All of my brisket cooks were wrapped in pink butcher paper. I hear the door. I hear the door. If only we had Mexican arcades still to talk about. Sad. I hear the door.
This disposition was rather mean. Then improvise a limerick. Hello.
Here's a song.
Oh, God. Yeah, I'm not going to write a song about Chris Matthews' balls.
No, please don't.
I hope something else comes out. Oh, boy.
It always does.
We boxed ourselves in a corner.
Okay, so what are you drinking tonight, Phil?
Everything.
What are you re-drinking?
Free drinking. Okay, so I had a little Buffalo Trace. A nice lower top shelf. Mid shelf, let's say that.
That is a solid mid-shelf bourbon.
Very nice. It's so hard to get Eagle Rare nowadays, so what are you going to do?
I haven't seen it in months. I'm hoarding my last bottle of it along with a bunch of toilet paper and hand sanitizer.
John hoards different things. I know how to get Eagle Rare, but another place I go, Ainani. No, wait, it's next to Ainani. That's owned by the same guy. I've talked about Ainani 100 years ago. But what's the name of that? The liquor store next door to it is Sunfish Liquor Store. No, it's not liquor. I think it's Sunfish something.
Right. Sunfish Cellars Wine and Spirits. Try saying that after a couple of beverages. Yes, it's at 981 Sibley Memorial Highway. Sunfish Cellars Wine and Spirits on Sibley. Closes at 8.
But it's kind of famous, or not famous. It's kind of more upscale, and they have a nice deli. They have some in the back for $79.
What?
Yeah, I know. What were you getting it for? $29 for quite a while.
$29. Yeah, so $30 was a good price for that. It's maybe it's worth $35. I think beyond that, it's not that great.
But supply and demand.
Yeah. You know, someday things will calm down and you'll see it again. Something else will get more trendy.
I think it's partially our fault because we talked about Eagle Rare quite a bit, and then all of a sudden it was so hard to get. It's probably that our listener in the Philippines bought it all. Dear listener in the Philippines, please contact us on our Facebook page. I want to know who you are, and but you could be a guest. Our listeners.
Yeah.
Okay. Fine. What are you drinking?
I am drinking a Rob Roy.
You've been getting into those more lately again.
And this one I made up a Rob Roy with Dewar's 15-year-old.
Okay, so this is like a Manhattan, but with scotch, right?
Right. It's scotch, sweet vermouth, and bitters.
Well, if we're not completely wiped out after the Irish whiskey tasting, I'd like to try one again because I can't quite remember.
It's a nice 15-year-old blended whiskey. It's very, very mellow, smooth, and all that stuff. So it doesn't have a lot going on, but it's nice.
Okay.
It's a good thing just on a Wednesday night. You want to have an unchallenging but pleasant scotch. It's nice.
I like that.
Yeah, it's good.
And in these challenging times, we need unchallenging beverages from time to time.
I don't need a smoky kick you in the ass scotch. Not today.
Say, while we were gone on break, I happened to look up Air America on Wikipedia. And I think I was confusing Rachel Maddow with Randy Rhoads. However...
Oh, I remember Randy Rhoads.
However, Rachel Rowe...
Rachel Roe v. Wade? What?
Oh,
no.
She was overturned. No, Rachel Maddow, I had a show, did have a show on there.
Rachel Maddow did?
Well, okay, here's a line. Rachel Maddow moved her show
Yeah.
to television on the MSNBC network. There's some kind of Mark Maron comment here. I don't know if you can trust everything on... He started his WTF podcast by trespassing in Air America studios after the network's demise. Anyway, I'm not going to read Wikipedia to our fans.
That is incredibly lame.
But it might help your listeners sleep at night.
Oh, God.
Why are we here? Why are you there? Are you there? Once I was there too. But then I came here. I like it here. It's nice here. I'm surrounded by my favorite things. I can't think of them offhand, but they are all around me. I'm sure.
That's it.
That's it.
Good night, Chris.
I was going to talk about stereo buying.
Oh, yeah. You got a new stereo.
Yeah, so the background is that many years ago, since I was a child, actually, I have had stereo equipment, which, those separate components and speakers and wires and all that stuff, and you'd hook a turntable and a tape deck and later a CD player and all those
Components.
boxes.
Lots of boxes.
Yeah, boxes, lots of cables, and
LP, record player.
You would gradually piece it together and all that stuff. Everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Not everybody.
Well, I'm guessing our listeners do.
Our demographic.
A number of years ago, I went through some changes in my life and moved and other things, and I walked away from my old stereo stuff, which was probably getting obsolete anyway, and until recently I had not sought to rebuild any of it. Interesting. And
I guess I didn't know that.
Yeah, for a long time I just either didn't have one or I just have a sound bar or one of those things you hook up your TV.
Yeah, I think you were focusing more on the home entertainment kind of side of your stuff.
It just having the equipment to get really good sound in your TV or to listen to music and all that kind of thing. That wasn't what I was really into, and it probably was not it's not a coincidence that I started performing more music.
Yeah.
So I was putting the energy into that, and of course there's lots of equipment you can buy for that.
Well, here's another thing too, and just to interrupt you briefly, is that I'm not taking the time to listen to things like I used to. I don't know if that's the same case with you.
No, I have to kind of remind myself to do that.
I haven't tuned out, as we used to say, in a long time.
Even though I have, pretty much every CD for sure that I owned over the many years I had them, they've all been ripped and put in the cloud and all that stuff.
When John passes away, he'd like to be ripped and put into a cloud.
I have access to all that stuff, or if I want to log into a streaming service, I can listen to pretty much anything.
I used to listen to your radio channel or whatever it was called. Your
when I would stream random tracks out of my iTunes library.
Yeah. And every now and then one of our old HHK things would pop up.
So, okay. I was thinking, again, I have a nice TV, one that I like, and I thought,
but you haven't had a stereo.
A little better to listen to music on, or have better movie sound, things like that. And so I thought, well, I could buy a better sound bar, because there are very good ones now.
Which reminds me, I still owe you for your old one.
I keep passing my old equipment on to Phil.
Hey, John's old sound bar is great.
Yeah, it's great.
I haven't plugged it in yet. Sorry. Okay, cool.
Well,
I need help setting it up.
But I thought I want something better than that. But
it's better than what I had.
At that point, when you go beyond something that you got at Costco or whatever, to something higher quality than that, you can either get a really fancy sound bar, or you can build a small stereo system with theater speakers.
Oh.
Again, in the old days, all you had was the home theater receiver. So that's that box it's a large black metal box that has the amplifier and the surround processor and all that stuff, and even an AM/FM radio.
Oh my!
Crazy. And all that the old
you could listen
style.
to Air America.
You could actually listen to Air America on it. Yes.
Is it still on?
I think they're still around in some form.
Wow. Okay.
I thought, well, I can build the modern equivalent of that. And so I started doing. I over research everything.
I benefit from your research because then I don't have to sometimes.
It's really kind of a sickness.
If anyone would like to pay John to help,
yeah, well,
help them decide on it.
Say, hey, which one should I buy?
Well, no, I've done that.
It's fine. I tend to mostly enjoy it, although at a certain point I become racked with indecision, and that's when it's not as fun. So I start researching things and thinking, there's got to be some really interesting stuff out there. And on one hand, there is, and on the other hand, it's kind of the same old stuff.
Okay.
So the big receiver box that has been around, I mean, there's been surround sound receivers since the 80s, I think. It's pretty safe.
Right.
Late 80s. I know they were around when I was in college. The thing that's interesting is how little some of it has changed.
Really?
They've updated the...
what else can you do? You improve it.
It's definitely improved, and it has a lot of new features, and they do all this processing to do your surround sound speakers and all that stuff. But the interesting thing is that the form factor is still the large metal box with a lot of buttons on it, and a million connections on the back.
Yeah.
Because they still assume that you need 6 video inputs and a phono and a tape deck and whatever else, and they did, instead of changing it, they just added on to the old system and made it bigger and more complicated.
Oh, it's going to be all no wires at some point. It's still, there's so many more inputs now still.
There is, and yet the funny thing is, like I refuse to call it a man cave because I think that's bullshit, but my downstairs room.
Your home entertainment center.
Yes.
Your heck.
Because I have a Blu-ray player and a media device, to play Netflix and all that stuff on.
Yeah, a stick or something.
Yeah, that's what most of them are now. And actually, the one I'm using down there right now, is built into the TV.
Right.
But at the most, I will have a small hockey puck shaped box that streams everything.
And then you could get a little hockey puck Bluetooth speaker. There you go. That's all you need. Is that called a dumb speaker?
If it's Bluetooth, how can it be dumb? Well, they're pretty dumb. Okay.
Well, you can't talk to it.
So I figure, well, I don't need all these inputs, and I also have a piece of furniture down there that I want to fit this thing into. So I no longer, for so many years ago, I had this huge equipment rack size piece of furniture to keep all these components in.
A rack.
Yeah, it's kind of like what today computer people would keep servers and stuff like that in.
Sure, I remember.
Yeah, and so I'd have the audio equivalent of that, this tall thing with all these components, and there's tons of wires everywhere. I don't need that because I don't have all these devices that I consume media on anymore.
And I hate wires.
Well, wires are a pain. They're messy.
Wire management.
Are you in wire management, sir?
Hello, I've just been promoted to wire director. All right.
Direct the wires. Series of tubes that go between these boxes.
Massive tubes.
So, yeah, I don't need all this stuff. And I have this IKEA shelving unit that looks nice and neat and everything. And there's a little spot down there that is pretty narrow and everything. And I just had a hell of a time finding something that would fit in there.
Okay, I'm going to backtrack. Yes, I know how your mind works, but maybe some of our listeners don't, and maybe I don't fully either or want to. But you don't want to know how my mind works entirely either. But so not only were you researching the best component for what you wanted, but you were also trying to get it to fit in that spot.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
Oh my head exploded.
And the thing is, amplifiers and all that audio equipment, you can make it incredibly small now, if you want to.
Oh yeah.
It does not have to be. If you go on, if you're not sure what I'm talking about, go online and just Google audio AV receiver or something like that, and you'll see this about 17-inch wide, 6-inch tall, large box. And I wanted something smaller than that because I don't need all that stuff. But there's hardly anything out there that fits that.
Weird. Isn't that strange, kind of? Because things...
It kind of is.
Things kind of went smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller.
How kind of conservative that type of equipment is.
The industry.
The thing is...
It's because old men have not retired and let the young people
probably
say, hey, we only need this 3-inch thing.
Yeah. I don't know. I was frustrated that I couldn't really... I did find eventually something that was a slim version of that receiver that just barely fit in there. But even that thing has more connections and everything than I need.
Does it have a VHS?
It has... Yeah, it actually has analog video connections.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
does.
Okay, all right. Wow.
It doesn't call it VHS.
No.
You could plug VHS into it, though.
I'll bring my VCR over on Saturday.
I'll plug my... I could plug my Betamax into it.
We could watch that old Night Flight Fireside Theater thing.
Exactly.
Oh, my God. Okay.
So, I don't know. So, there's that part. So, I finally found something that just barely works. And it fits in there with difficulty. But and then, okay. Speakers.
But it's more than you need. Oh, no. Speakers.
Oh, yeah. It's a little overkill for what I need. But
speakers. Oh, my God.
It's fine. So, speakers are another thing that are really hard to pick out. And on one hand... There are a lot of really good sounding speakers out there now that are not super expensive.
Sure.
That's the good part. They've really figured out how to make cheap speakers sound good. To quote Billy Joel, you get more mileage from a cheap pair of speakers.
Sneakers. I thought it was sneakers.
I thought, okay, am I wrong about that?
No, I'm kind of playing. I don't really know. The narrator will figure it out. Are you looking it up?
You know what? I got that wrong. I think it's sneakers. Oh, it took me so long. It's applicable. You know what? Fuck it. You can do it either way.
Oh, that's perfect. Those misread lyrics. Misheard lyrics.
Wrapped up like a deuce.
A douche.
A douche. Douchebag.
Il douche.
Oh, I'm a douchebag. Okay.
I wouldn't go that far.
No. Anyway, yes, you can get good speakers. They sound great. Actually, the thing is, most of the time you can't go listen to them before you buy them. So you have to, I read some reviews and I found some that were the right size and everything, and I had to order them online.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I think they sound really good, but it's not like I could go into a store and listen to a whole bunch of them back to back and things like that. Like I used to be able to.
Sure.
I mean, you can in some places, but it's kind of limited, and it's usually the more high end stuff. So
yeah. They're not going to have whatever you got.
No, it's not. It's buying speakers is always hard.
So you have speakers now downstairs.
I
instead
have
of a sound bar.
A left to right and a center channel.
Center channel, okay.
And eventually I will put some surround speakers on the back wall.
Oh, nice.
When I get around to doing that. But I did the front ones, and I've got a subwoofer.
Oh, I was going to say, you got to have some kind of subwoofer. Woof.
It sounds very good. It's very
Warf.
Good. And it's probably good enough. But the whole process was much more complicated than I was expecting. Even for me.
You think you think things would have gotten simpler over the years, but they're not.
But somehow.
Sad.
I need to take a really quick break.
I'll be right back too.
Okay.
2 breaks in one episode. This is terrible. We're getting too old for this.
Well, I don't know.
You back?
I'm sorry. I had to put something in the oven.
Oh, that's what they call it nowadays. Was that a euphemism? Well, I had to get another beverage, or maybe I didn't have to, but I did. Evan Williams, Manhattan.
That does the job.
Yeah, I gotta parse out the Buffalo Trace.
That's pretty much it on the stereo thing. I mean, I think it turned out fine, but I thought there would be a little more, things would be a little more creative as far as the solutions. What you can do.
I'm surprised. I am surprised. I'm not some audiophile or expert on any of this stuff, but I'm surprised to hear that they're. I mean, you'd think maybe we should have Lynn H on, but this would be a good episode to have him as a guest. But you'd think they could just do a really, really simple, like I don't know, 3-inch box thing.
And, maybe people who normally look for that will just buy sound bars because those are simple. But
that's the thing.
I kind of wanted something in between. I wanted something that still had the stereo components, but that was much more streamlined.
What's the next step up from soundbar and what you got, and what's the ultimate thing for if somebody was going to have a home thing?
The ultimate is a larger AV receiver box with 7 speakers and 2 subwoofers.
7 speakers in your room.
That's the current. I believe that's the current theater standard.
Where do you put the 7 speakers? All around?
So there's still the 3 in the front. There's 2 in the back, and then there are some ones in the middle.
Oh, then you need that bass thing under your seat that vibrates.
Well, then that's another thing altogether. Yeah. The rumbling tumbleweed. No.
Hear them under your seat, the rumbling vibrations neat. They can massage your feet. Hear the tumbling rumbles sweet. Which I first experienced at watching 2040 Blade Runner 2049 with
oh, that's right.
Sean and Connie.
Shakers.
Yeah. That was just too much. It was distracting.
That was first done in the 70s for the movie Earthquake. It was called Sensurround.
Okay, sure. Then there was Smellorama or whatever too.
Smell-o-vision.
Smell-o-vision.
So I'm going to put a quick, speaking of that, out.
About smelling?
Quick endorsement regarding that is a movie from the early 1990s called Matinee. Have you ever heard of it?
Oh, boy, that sounds familiar.
It stars John Goodman.
Yeah? No, I don't know.
It takes place during the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Wow.
And it's I think it's in Key West, the town.
Yeah.
And
I've been there.
John Goodman plays this super cheesy B movie promoter, like monster movies.
Okay, this is sounding familiar.
And he's coming to town to plug his newest movie, and he rigs the local movie theater with all these gimmicks and things like that. And there's some plot with the kids that go to the movie and all that stuff. It's really quite good.
Okay.
If you ever run across it, it's really fun. I had never seen it, and one of the reviewers I read recommended it, and it's quite charming, actually, and it has a lot of great early 1960s nostalgia stuff that they do, and it kind of captures the historical time.
And that was a weird time, the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yeah, and of course it's happening right when this movie is supposed to premiere and everything. So, and there's a little subplot where the movie theater owner has a bomb shelter under the theater and stuff like that. And it's really funny.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah.
I have a PBS Passport that came along with donating to PBS and my TPT station. Because I don't have any other streaming thing at the moment, but we'll probably have to get Netflix again at some point when Stranger Things comes back.
That's the one thing you watch.
No, there were other things I had on there, but
Oh, that's good.
I hopefully they saved my list because wow, that was something. But all kinds of things I never got to. But so PBS has this digital studios thing,
Okay.
which is like it's probably stuff that they only put online, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But there have been some. I have been enjoying some of that stuff more than actually the other public television offerings because I'm not really into the costume romance stuff. But whatever.
Masterpiece Downton Theater.
Historical blah blah. Okay, but there's a show on there called Monstrum. There's a lady whose name I've forgotten, but
Her name is Emily Zarka.
she's like a monster expert in literature and that kind of thing. And I'm really enjoying that. They're only like 26 minutes, and I've never heard of some of these monsters. And she gets into all the cultural significance and references, and I don't know. I'm enjoying that quite a bit. That's what I'm watching. So there, Monstrum. Go watch that, everybody, if you can find it. Maybe it's on YouTube too. I don't know.
Yeah. Another thing we watched recently, which was interesting, was Jojo Rabbit.
Oh, I know. That's been on my list too. I really like the director-writer guy.
Yeah. And of course, he plays Hitler.
Yeah. Well,
Which
who
is really
wouldn't
fun.
want to do that? Yeah.
It's a dream role.
For some of us. Captain Hook, Hitler, whatever.
Yeah,
Satan.
I'll be interested.
I played
to
Satan.
hear what you think.
Yeah. Well. Okay. That's the same guy that the first time I think I heard of that director, and I don't know what he did before that, but I saw Thor.
Waikiki or sorry, I always forget his name. How to pronounce his name?
No.
Taika Waititi.
It was Thor Ragnarok. And wow,
Fraggle Rock, yeah.
Thor Fraggle Rock, and my God, I haven't laughed. Actually laughed out loud in the theater, and I don't know when the last time probably Up in Smoke when I was nine or something.
Drive-in. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, you'll have to see what you think. It's got a little bit of a Wes Anderson vibe going on.
Sure.
The style.
Sure.
It's sort of a dark comedy, but it's interesting.
It sounds really good. Sounds really good. I don't know. What else? I haven't been anywhere or done anything hardly. At some point we won't be able to go anywhere, so how are we going to
It's funny. I was thinking earlier that if I'm forced to work at home, I'll have to stay home and my gigs will get canceled and all that stuff, and I'll get time to catch up with all these movies that I have bought over the last couple of years and not watched, and I buy them faster than I can watch them.
Yeah.
And I'm of course I
You're hoarding movies.
I totally am. Back to the Twilight Zone episode where the guy survives the apocalypse and now he has time to read everything and then his glasses break.
Yeah, maybe
Time enough at last.
Maybe the internet will go down.
The electricity will go out and I won't be able to watch them.
So that's the modern Twilight Zone version of that story.
Yeah, Black Mirror could remake that easily.
Oh no, I haven't seen that either.
Yeah, well, if you ever get back on Netflix, you can watch that.
Is it still there?
I think so. I think they own the show now. So yeah.
Oh wow.
Just like Amazon bought out The Expanse, so they have it all. So.
Yeah,
which is another good show.
Speaking of economics, I was listening to Marketplace or something, and they were talking about Netflix and junk bonds, and I won't go into all that, but it was pretty interesting. Netflix should do a documentary about their junk bonds.
Yeah,
I'd buy that for $1.
Yeah, I'm out. The other thing I'm obsessing over right now are the whole pellet grill question.
Yes, all right.
And I've been.
I wasn't
back and
sure
forth.
If that was for another episode.
Yeah, I don't know. There's
John's obsession segment.
Yeah, and maybe I shouldn't buy anything if the world's going to end, but
As long as you can get pellets, and it might be a good idea because there are rabbits in the backyard. Maybe you're fine.
Those wood pellets kind of do look like rabbit shit.
Maybe you could use rabbit shit.
Deer pellets. Or...
You could use rabbit shit to smoke a rabbit. That's perfect. There's a song. No.
Rabbit shit.
There's no song for this one.
Yeah, I don't know. I for a while I was all set, and then I thought, well, wait a minute. Maybe I should buy a traditional one that you use charcoal and wood chunks and all that with.
I think that's what I would get. It's more work, or it's more.
It's definitely more work, and I'm not sure I want to screw around with the lighting the fire and doing all this stuff and.
But you'd like that app.
And...
You'd like that app that goes with the other ones.
Well, the other one is just so damned easy, and if I'm honest, I'm usually pretty lazy about that, and
sure.
the path of least resistance will lead to some really good smoked food.
And John, you're going to have an app to monitor even when you're at work. You can say, "Oh,
well,
I got
you could do that because some people will smoke these for like 12 hours."
Well, Paul was talking about that. Paul S.
Yeah, Paul was kind of inspired this whole thing because he made some really good food.
It's Paul's fault.
And so did Matthew P., who has one of these devices too.
No, MJ's rolling her eyes. If she would listen.
She doesn't. It's fine.
She's still rolling her eyes.
This is where we need to insert the "it's so good."
I've tried not to use that as much lately, but I put it in last
time. Instead of whatever I'm saying right now, put that in.
Wrong.
No, it's one of my favorites.
It's a classic.
So good.
I think our audience has waited long enough.
It's really good.
Whoops, I hit my mic stand.
Don't
Are you
hit your
actually
mic.
considering going old school with a smoker? Because I thought about that.
Well, I was, and I'm kind of leaning back toward the lazy pellet smoker.
You know what? That might be the best fit for you.
I think today it is. I just don't think I'm quite ready to commit to the harder version.
Have you ever watched? So there is a different show on PBS Digital Studios. It's like there's a pit boss guy. But have you ever seen any of that kind of stuff? Because that is really,
I've seen, I've definitely seen clips where how they make that stuff.
That is really something. I mean, that's
serious business.
Wow, that's overnight. They have to keep it going.
Yeah, that's the big thing that won't be news to anybody who's done this. But the big thing is to keep the fire at a certain temperature for a long time.
Yeah, you got to stay up all night.
And that's where these pellet smoker grills do all that for you. You set the temperature like 200 degrees or whatever, and it just sits there, and the computer keeps it exactly at the right temperature.
That all makes sense to me, and I'm not going to judge anybody that goes that route. But I am tempted to get an old school one, not just because of the price.
Weber has a really good one that everybody likes. It looks like it looks a lot like the grill you already have, except it's skinnier and tall.
Sure.
And you just put the fire in the bottom of it and put the meat in, and you adjust the temperature with the little vent holes.
Okay. Vent holes.
Let's recap. Fire in the bottom, put the meat in, vent holes.
Yeah. Yeah, those things have been around for years. They're very solid, but I think it's more than I want to do.
I get that.
Yeah. I think I can. I'm capable of doing it. I just think that I wouldn't use it much.
When I'm grilling, I'm okay with letting it set and coming back and forth because I'm that kind of guy where I'm just running around all the time. I don't know.
Would you do it for 10 hours though?
I could.
Yeah, okay. Well, that might be the way to go. And the thing is, you can get really cheap ones that are not Weber, that it's just a metal barrel with a ring in the bottom.
You can make one.
Yeah, they're Alton Brown, on Food Network, he had this one where you just took a ceramic flower pot and made one out of that.
Oh, wow.
So if you want to go really cheap, you can do it.
No, I would buy something. But then you got to get wood, and you want to get
you have to have charcoal and the wood chunks and all that,
and you want a nice a good kind of wood to get the smoke right. The pellets, evidently, like Paul was talking, I mean, they have, blends and...
There's a lot of pellets, all the different hardwoods. And the wrap on the pellet grills is often that you don't get as intense a smoke flavor out of them.
Oh, I'd want that.
And so there is a trade-off, I guess. But
I guess if you pair it with a nice smoky scotch, you're fine.
yeah, it depends on how smoky you like the meat, too.
I like it smoky. Well, that's
We'll
a good
see.
point. You still haven't decided.
Not really, no.
All right. Well, I probably need to get rid of my... So I have your old propane grill still. Yeah. And I finally figured out how the whole propane thing works. I'm still a charcoal guy, but my little Weber is pretty small. And that was probably one of your old Webers. I get John's...
Yeah, and somebody gave that one to me back in the 90s. They last forever. They really do.
I've replaced the grill thing, but I don't know. Yeah. I would need to replace the grill slats or whatever they're called for the other grill, the propane grill that I got from you. Mm-hmm. I think I need to replace those. But
oh, you mean the grates?
Grates, thank you.
They're probably pretty rusted out.
No, they are.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking of just maybe putting that out on the curb and see if somebody takes it and getting a little smaller propane one.
Yeah, I like the small one I have.
Well,
if it's a weeknight and I want to just cook something really quick, you just turn them on.
That big one was good though for I'm going to cook everything for the next week.
Yeah, they're huge. They really are.
But maybe I don't need that.
Maybe you don't.
I need a couple links from you, evidently.
So would this hypothetical grill, would you buy a charcoal or a gas one?
Well, I have the old charcoal grill.
Okay,
which
so you buy a gas one.
So I have a propane tank, so I want to get rid of. Yeah. So I probably might want a different propane one. Gas.
Yeah, it's going to sound really boring, but from all the research I did, the Weber propane grills are still the best ones.
Yeah, boring's fine.
They're pretty much universally praised.
When life is so exciting, on the interwebs and the news, it's okay to have
something
not
stable. Yeah.
Stable.
And
like Joe Biden.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Weber gas grills are the Joe Biden of barbecue. There you go.
That's the title.
There's a lot of truth there.
That's not going to be a good song, but it's a good title. I need to mute myself for a minute. I don't know how. Never mind. I forgot how to mute myself.
Damn it. Yeah, pellet grills are there's a ton of them out there, so they're hard to research.
Well, with any of these goddamn things, there's this huge range. And I always want to find a middle ground, because I don't want to spend X, but I don't want and
yeah.
A lot of things, like with sound equipment or whatever, there's this low end and high end. Or like when I bought my acoustic guitar, I found like a high end of the low end kind of thing, a Seagull. And, but it's nice. There's no middle range. I mean, I don't know if that's the same thing with grills, but that's what I feel like.
There's some of them, but the way the pellet grill thing has gone is that, so this company called Traeger, which you easily find, they invented this whole concept.
Yeah.
Back in the late 80s, I think, is when they first came out. And they had a patent on it for like 20 years.
Wow.
And then at some point their patent, so 20 years later, their patent expired, everybody made knockoffs.
Sure.
To be fair, some companies made better versions of it, but they're all kind of the same thing.
Well, how many variations can you do on a pellet grill? I don't know.
Yeah, they have different little computer controllers and the construction of them, and there's lots of variations, but they all basically do the same thing. They have this, the little pellets are pushed via an auger into a little combustion chamber where they're lit.
On a timer.
Well, the computer controls how fast or slow the pellets are pushed into the fire.
Based on whatever temperature you want.
Yep. So you turn it up and it pushes them in faster.
That's pretty cool.
So the people on the barbecue forum is, which is really a horrible place to go hang out. So don't do it. They'll refer to those grills as pellet poopers.
Oh.
So somewhat derogatory
Sure.
term, but and boy, there is some once in a while people make pretty un-PC / Trump-like comments and stuff like that. So, shocker, the barbecue people are all rednecks.
Oh, not all of them.
You have to kind of...
The real pit bots.
Pit bots. They're robots that make barbecue.
Russian troll pit bots.
Pit bots. Those are.
But, some of these, some of the real master, a lot of the master pit bots are not, they're African-American, really.
Only a master of barbecue.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, that's you read a lot about that, and there are definitely some that are higher quality than others, but yeah, they all kind of do the same thing.
Yeah. It's kind of like our episodes.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, is that it?
That's what I have.
That's all I got.
There's no hardball.
Something has to fill that time slot.
They just have different people filling right now because they're covering so many primaries and things like that.
It's just kind of news. It's not like a show.
It's just kind of their, whatever's going on. They just kind of pretend like hardball didn't exist.
It's not called anything. It's just a time filler news.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
fine.
I'm sure someday they'll put somebody in there. But.
Well, okay. So here's another thing. One of my Friday traditions, or what's not traditions? That's not the word I'm looking for. Routines. Thank you. I'd listen to the weekly political roundup thing on All Things Considered with
NPR. Yeah.
Yes. Usually the hosts were David Brooks and E.J. Dionne.
Yep.
Dionne Warwick. And that has not been on for a while. So I actually emailed NPR, and they said weekly politics is on hiatus, but it will return. And I don't know what that means. I wonder if they're retooling it. Maybe they need... Because
I don't know. I suspect that maybe the people they have are busy doing other things or something like that, or they're showing up on CNN or whatever.
Well, and David Brooks does have other gigs. I mean, he's on with Mark Shields still, which I
really? Okay,
which I started watching on NewsHour.
Yeah, I haven't seen NewsHour in many years.
But I don't know, because I've listened to it for a while now, and in the past, if one of them couldn't be on, they had a guest. And I think sometimes they had two guests when neither of them could be on.
It almost seemed like every other week they would have...
You're right.
Have the originals, and then they'd have the upstarts.
So I'm wondering if they're just like, it's time just for the upstarts, or I wonder if they're trying to find new people. But a weird thing happened on Twitter where a long time ago, I think 3 years ago, I commented or tweeted. I don't know what I did, but on that show and I tagged David Brooks and E.J. Dionne, and somebody replied. It's like 3 years later, and I was included on it in my Twitter notifications. And what's going on? As if I'm part of the show. And why isn't this on anymore? So I'm wondering what that's going to happen. Oh, stay tuned. I'm going to check my Twitter. I don't do that very often.
They're going to make it more like Hardball.
Or less? No,
Well,
they won't do that.
It was pretty darn polite.
Oh, no, I know. Well, and David Brooks, he gets a lot of flack, but from both the left and the right. But I've always appreciated his insight, and E.J. Dionne and Chris Matthews and whoever else. But maybe they're going to turn it over to other people. I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
Let's give it all to the kids.
Yeah, not my kids.
So who's going to take over for us?
I don't think
when
the
we retire
podcast
tonight on the air.
I'd like to thank all of our listeners. You're very important.
Yeah.
We're all
Or
retiring.
whatever it was that I said that pissed you off, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I retire.
And as of right now, we'll always have time to lean.
Oh,
Hi, I guess I'm on the show now.
wow. That was
That's it. I gotta pee. So
that was time to pee.
It is literally time to pee, and there's no song.
Okay, so here's the thing too, though, is that there might not be one. I have to, I drink a lot of water. I want to stay hydrated, but now with COVID-19, if you go pee, you got to wash your hands for 20 hours, 20 hours, minutes, and then it's like I can't. I'm just washing my hands all day. Well, whatever. Okay.
Okay. Here's one follow up on that. So the news headlines are saying people are stocking up on blah 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 and bottled water. Why are people hoarding bottled water?
You
Is
can't-
the water supply going to get contaminated? I don't know what they think
Or
is
will
going
it-
to happen here.
Or will it stop?
Really?
So
That's where it reminded me of all the hurricane stuff. Because
Well, right. But, okay, so I don't know how the water treatment system works. But if everyone's sick or can't go to work, we still have water, don't we? It just might not be.
I think
We
they'll
won't
have
get.
essential people to keep the water running.
We need robots, John.
I don't know. People get really funny about stuff like that.
I agree with you, but I'm trying to figure out the logic to where, oh well, maybe we can't have water.
Well, that's the
anymore.
point, Phil. There's not a logic.
But Mike Pence is in charge, and we're elbow bumping, and it's going to be okay. Everybody, don't panic. Just wash your hands. Oh wait, what's your song that you use when you wash your hands? Do you have a song?
Well, I heard in rehearsal last night that it was the opening from Mahler's Fifth Symphony would work for that.
God.
if you're a complete dweeb. I hate to say it, I wash my hands like I often do anyway. And I'm a hand washer.
I have been taking a little longer, but I don't sing a song. So people are recommending like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, Happy Birthday. I've been going with Planet Claire by the B-52s. Everybody's got their own thing.
Yeah.
And Heather, if you're still listening, B-52s, wash your hands to the B-52s. Good night, everybody.
Well, good night.
Good.
Stay safe out there.
Good something. Yeah, stay safe in there. Don't go out.
Yeah, just stay home. People don't want to see you anyway.
Good night, John.
Good night.
She's unchallenging but pleasant. She's not your average peasant. I'd like to invite her for pheasant, but perhaps she'd prefer an old game hen, or a turkey, a goose, or a francolin. But perhaps she doesn't eat meat. Certainly not pickled cock's feet. Perhaps a salad with pickled beet. I wonder if she even eats. She does look a little bit gaunt, but not quite as pale as a debutante. She's even thinner than my old grey aunt. I wonder if she even likes men, or only has a yen for one now and then. Would she walk with me in the glen? I think I'll just smile and tip my hat. She smiled back, and that was that. I guess I'll go home to my cat.